Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I'm Maria Casillas, joined by my incredible co-host, Cody Sizemore. We are here for episode 201, coming off the heels of the last look back, which was really fun. Thanks so much for doing that with me, Cody. And now we are going to commence on the first of the next 100, which I'm very much looking forward to. So today, I think it's going to be an interesting topic. It might be a little bit uncomfortable for some people listening today, but that's how we roll. And so we're gonna roll with that. Before we do that, though, let me just say thanks to each and every one of you who has shown up every week with us. We call you our every weekers, and we're grateful for you. And those of you who are just showing up for the first time, we welcome you here and are glad to welcome and hopefully be able to have you back every week after this. We are going to talk today about investing in yourself and in your business. Why might that be a little bit uncomfortable? Well, because most coaches who come into the financial coaching world have really started figuring out how to deal with their own money. Would you say that that's true so far, Cody? And oftentimes get like this scarcity mindset around money, which you would think wouldn't happen, but it totally does. And so then when you get into this realm of, actually trying to invest in yourself, that can be really, really scary. But it's so important for so many reasons. And I'd like to discuss some of those with you today. So how does that sound?
Sounds great to me.
Awesome.
Let's get into it.
Okay. Well, let's start with an open-ended question. And that is, what does invest mean to you?
Ooh.
I know I didn't set you up for that. Sorry.
That's a good one. Well, I think that invest basically means that you're making it a priority. It's something that's important to you.
Okay.
And it's something that you are willing to kind of extend yourself for. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean just financially speaking. Of course, it can mean that, but extend yourself maybe physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it might be, spiritually, whatever. Doing that because it's important to you to grow or to improve.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The only one you didn't mention was time. And that is another really strong one. I love all the other ones that you threw in there. I would maybe add on that it's with the hopes of a return of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Right?
I would agree. Yep.
Okay. So what types of returns do we get on things like investing in ourselves? I mean, we talk about investments in terms of, financial investments, like in the stock market, for example, or in a business, or in, I don't know, what are some other areas that we invest in? Real estate, places like that. And we invest, oftentimes those are financial investments, but also investments of time and energy and mental capacity, all of those things. We do that with the hope of getting a return. I mean, there's a whole, ROI, right? Return on investment. That's something that we talk about often. And so there's obviously a hope. And so when we talk about investing in ourselves, though, what does that even mean? What does it look like? It's a little different than just investment in general.
Well, I think that it has to do with how you feel, really. Whether you're investing into your health, your business, your finances, whatever it might be, there's those tangible outcomes that you can get, like losing weight or paying off debt or scaling your practice or building a real estate portfolio or anything like that. Mm-hmm. There's tangible things that you can do, but then there's also untangible things as well, like feeling that momentum, like getting into a flow state, like being confident, believing something that's possible that maybe you didn't believe before. All of those types of things, which I think That's the actual prize, because that's what actually drives you to get the tangible
Mm.
results.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I love when we hit record and have zero idea what the other person's going to say, because it just brings up stuff that like, oh, I never would have thought about it that way. It's a real discussion, and I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Um, I never would have thought of those being the ROIs on something like that, and I think
Mhm.
it's a really interesting perspective. One thing that you didn't say that I had thought of was the idea of um, almost like, I hate the word legacy, but almost like part of that is what you leave behind. Like people seeing you, and I think of this in terms of like investing in relationships. Relationships are great for the time being for us, but in the event that we're no longer there, it's nice to know that it had some sort of impact on the person even in our absence, whether that absence means that we have actually died and left this earth, or that absence is just that particular friendship fizzled away, or that the networking relationship was intended to be short term, but we are investing in certain things, and then that investment, sometimes we see the return and sometimes we don't, but it doesn't mean that it's not right there. So that's the only other thing that I would add to that. What are your thoughts on that before we move on?
The timing side of things.
Just the well, no, just the idea of that's part of the return. Whether or not we see it, I don't know. But as we invest in things like when we invest in ourselves, part of it is trickling down to like investing in our families and in the other relationships that we have as well, and how that impacts other people around us.
Well, I think that that's absolutely true, because even if we talk about, how our clients invest into our services,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, well, I do know this about you. Um, but what I have found is that, like, while we help people with their finances, they get much more out of it, because they are showing up better. They're showing up more at peace. They're showing up more confidently. If it's a married couple, their communication gets a lot better. So then their relationship improves, which then trickles down to their kids, and their kids start, asking questions around money, and they start behaving, wisely with money, and they start seeing mom and dad getting along more, and there's a more loving household, and all these things, right?
Hmm.
So, yes, I
Hmm.
completely agree.
Okay, cool. And
Completely agree.
speaking of people watching, you mentioned like seeing mom and dad do these things.
Mhm.
I think one of the other reasons that, and we haven't even gotten into some of the reasons, but this is coming up for me. So, one of the reasons that it is important for us as coaches to be willing to invest financially in ourselves, this is where I'm actually going to say financially intentionally,
Mhm.
it's because our clients are watching us. Like
Yeah.
we're asking them to lay down hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars in investing in themselves for help through us. And if we haven't been willing to do the same thing, they're going to kind of see through some of that. And it
Mhm.
might not be where, they're like, well, have you ever done this? It's just that you're going to have kind of an air about you that will maybe feel, you don't really know that you're putting off that vibe, but you totally are. That,
Mhm.
you're uncomfortable asking for this amount of money because you would be uncomfortable putting down that amount of money. And if you
Mhm.
haven't tried it, then it's very easy to go, oh, yeah, of course you can ask for this. But you have to be willing to actually put it down. And sometimes that's really hard for people. And as I mentioned at the top of this, sometimes it's because we've worked so hard to maybe get out of debt before we become our coaches ourselves. And we're so used to not spending money that when we're asked to invest, it feels awkward for us.
Well, I'll even say this, it's a disservice to your clients not to do this.
Yeah.
Because if you are showing up nervous when you're asking them to invest, because you
Hmm.
haven't, because you don't
Hmm.
have that experience or you don't have that confidence around it, they're not going to move forward with you.
Hmm.
If they're not moving forward with you, then they're going to be stuck where they're at. They're going to continue to struggle, and they're not going to get the help that they need. So it is a disservice to your clients if you are unwilling to do what the exact same thing that you're asking them to do.
Yeah.
1000%. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, well, I'm hearing Cody say this, so that means I need to go sign up for the next program that I see across my page. right? Like, doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's good. I just need to spend a couple $1,000 to say that I did it, right? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like, do your research, make sure it's a good fit for you, but do it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I can just tell you this, Maria, I've, I know for a fact that you've invested into your education, your skill sets, all that kinds of stuff, as have I as well. In fact, I've invested tens of thousands of dollars
Mm-hmm.
into it myself. And what I will tell you is that every single time that I made an investment, except for one time, um, I have improved in so many ways. My communication, my vision, my practices, how I really serve my clients, how I market my business, how I scale my business, how I handle my finances within my business. All of those things have improved every single time. So the tens of thousands of dollars I invested has came back tenfold. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and for multiple years as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not what it is one of those things where it's like, what you put in, you get out kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm really glad that you use that example because anybody who's doing the math in the background, we probably have a few math nerds who listen to us.
Oh,
Um, you said you've invested tens of thousands and that it came back tenfold. So
mhm,
if they're looking at just the math, they're thinking, well, Cody has obviously made hundreds of thousands of dollars
mhm,
and it can all be attributed to that investment. And that might be true, but I'm going to pull back and say even if you hadn't made hundreds of thousands of dollars that could be attributed to those investments, you gave a litany of other ROIs. And I just would like you to say a couple of them again. And maybe you don't even know what the heck I'm talking about, but you're nodding. So I think you do. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
mhm, mhm.
Okay. Can you say a couple of them again? Because I don't know if our listeners hear those things as ROI, but I 100% do.
My confidence,
Mm-hmm.
what I believe is possible,
Okay.
my communication,
Mm-hmm.
how I actually serve my clients, and getting deeper into things and not just being like, a surface level, just number cruncher kind of thing. Like all of those different types of things. And then also, you know what? As that's also kind of like came to fruition, it's also helped me with my home life
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am more, I'm not always so like, I need to do this, I need to do this. I'm feeling the pressure all the time. Now, I do put pressure on myself on purpose, but it's a healthy pressure, not a pressure to where it's like, why is nothing working? I feel like I'm crap,
That's right.
you know? I know that I'm good. I don't have a problem saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it. It's
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm confident with that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I know that, I show up and I walk out of my office and I go see my kids. I go see my wife, and they're getting the best form of me, knowing that I'm not questioning myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
know, so there's a lot of things in there.
Absolutely. And would you agree with this statement? It's okay if you don't. I truly want to know. If you hadn't received hundreds of thousands of dollars in return,
Mhm.
would those other things have been sufficient enough for now, knowing that it would eventually build? You would actually see that in a dollar form later on, but would it be sufficient right now if that's all you had gotten as a return?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And I say that even me being more of a tangible person, a more measurable person,
Hmm.
I can tell you that like it would be challenging.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say it's going to be easy to kind of go through that period of time where the returns, the tangible returns aren't hitting immediately.
Hmm.
It is challenging,
Hmm.
but I also understand like, hey, going back to our last conversation that we talked about in our 200th episode, falling in love with the process,
Hmm.
falling in love with the journey, and not necessarily the destination or the outcome. It's super important, and I know that sometimes I'll make a $8,000 investment into myself or into my business, and I know I'm not going to get that $8,000 back in 1 month,
Hmm.
maybe not even 1 year kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I do know that it's going to come.
Mhm.
It's gonna come.
So, a couple things. One, you've used the word tangible and you've used the word measurable, and both of
Mhm.
them are valid words. I think what's interesting is something like your confidence, for example, is not something that's tangible, but it is measurable. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
it might not be measurable like you've got a scale that says, on a scale of 1 to 10, here's my level of confidence. If you're not really looking at that, but it is something that's measurable, people will see the difference in you. Like
Mhm.
you'll show up differently. And so I just want to point that out because I think a lot of times that we really do want that tangible. But we talked last week about how things that aren't sexy are sometimes the best investments. And this might be one of those things where it doesn't seem like you're going to get that $8,000 back immediately. And so it feels very risky. It's like, oh, well, what if I never see that $8,000? And it's like, you're not going to see it next month, most likely. And sometimes you won't even see it for 3 years. But same thing when you invest your $8,000 into a Roth IRA, you're not going to see that $8,000 next month or in the next
Mhm.
several years. You have to wait a long time for that tangible, measurable return to actually come to fruition for you. And I think that's oftentimes the way it is when we invest in ourselves, and when we invest in our businesses. In our businesses, it can be very frustrating because it's like, okay, well, I'm going to invest, even if it's just little bits, to make sure that I have the systems in place and to get some stuff up and running. It can take a long time for that to feel like it actually is coming to fruition. So last week we talked about starting with what you have, but sometimes investing in yourself or in your business, it can mean hiring out a coach. That can certainly be one way to look at it.
Mhm.
Another way could be if you believe in your business enough to actually invest your own seed money into your business so that you're not having to feel like you've got to get the first 5 clients in order to be able to open a few of those systems. There are some things that you could do for free, of course, but there are some inexpensive things you could start by literally investing in your business. And just for fun, I think it's actually a good idea if you're going to do that to physically take money from your personal stuff, put it into your business account so that you are physically investing. I think that's there's something psychological happens with you when you do that versus, well, I got to pay for this, Google Suite and it's $13 a month and I'm just going to pay for that out of my personal account because I'm investing in my business. That doesn't seem the same. It's just not.
Mhm.
That's just another subscription. So it's different. So anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. Sorry about that. But I think that that's super important for us to just really look at. So what are some of your thoughts there? And then we can move on to another piece.
Well, I think that it's really important, and I really like even what you said about like some sort of subscription, like $13 a month.
Hmm.
I had a conversation with a newer coach, and this was just over Facebook, and he shot me a message, and he said something along the lines of like, "Hey, with Calendly, um, is there a way to get around having multiple different types of meetings without having to pay for the subscription and just doing like the free version?"
Hmm.
And I understand where they're coming from. Like they're just trying to save some extra money and keep the overhead low and all that kinds of stuff. Uh, but I hit him back and I just said, honestly, dude, I don't know of a way to work around that. And quite frankly, just pay for it. Like it's a super critical part of your business, and it's $12.99 a month. You're good. You can do it, bro. You can do it. Like it's
Hmm.
gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Um,
He has to look at it and say, if investing this $13 a month will afford me the ability to get, even just one client, if it will get one
right.
more client than I would have without this, then that one client has more than paid for that $13. I
Well,
hope. I hope you're not charging $13 a month for your clients.
right. Even if you were to be charging something low, like maybe $150 a
Hmm.
month,
Hmm.
well, you would need basically like 11 to 12 months of Calendly to
Hmm.
offset that 1 month.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
it's very, very simple, you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes making these investments, we're not even talking about, a $4,000 coaching program.
Hmm.
Sometimes we are talking about these subscriptions or these services that help us run the business a little bit more. Even Active Campaign, I had my yearly thing come up this past week, and it was $1,700 for that because of my mailing list. It's at a number now that I need to have that many people. So I mean, it can be those things like that, but I think that what's important is that we don't shy away from investing into ourselves because of what you said, to where like psychologically you're more invested. Like when you invest, you are more invested. You're going to do more. You're going to push more. You're going to put yourself out there more. You're going to work harder for your clients more. You're going to be able to, like all of these things. Like you are more invested because you invested. Shocker.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's so important to do that so that you can, be that best form of you and show up the best way that you can for your clients so that they can then be the best form of them as
Right.
well.
Yep. Having said all of this, though, I do think it's important to recognize the importance of intentionality. So, I will say that the individual who messaged you on Facebook, at least he's being intentional.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that
absolutely.
there's some of that, like, I'm trying to be a little bit scarce here, but there's an intentionality. And I want to just say that blanketly because there will be $13 subscriptions that will eat you alive if you don't need them.
Yep.
So
Yep.
remember that. And then there are going to be some big ticket items that can eat you alive if you don't need them. You mentioned at the top of this episode that we were not just giving a blanket permission to just go and spend $10,000 so that you said you did it, right? And we mean that. We want to make sure that if you are investing in yourself, that you are doing that with intentionality. And I will say this, because you said do your research. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't mind looking like a fool, and I can walk into it a few times. So I'm going to share this because, why not? But about 10 years ago is when my business first started. And I will tell you that I had finally just kind of gotten myself to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to invest in something. I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to just grow. And I was very specific about what it was I was looking for, but I did not know. I was completely ignorant to the idea of target marketing. So because I had never been on this side of it and understood how that's done. And I don't want to say it was new. It wasn't necessarily new 10, 12 years ago, but it was definitely more on like the big people side prior to that. I didn't know that you could do it. So it wasn't super surprising that I fell prey. I was going to say victim, but I wasn't a victim. But I fell prey to some of this stuff where, like, all of a sudden, once I recognized I was ready to invest, all of a sudden, like, there was this thing that was getting the exact results that I was hoping to get. It's like they were speaking my language, and like, yes, I totally need to get into that, right? And so I think it was maybe $2,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
And back then, I mean, it was still a decent amount of money, but it wasn't even for like one-on-one coaching. It was literally just for a done for you course type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I went ahead and I invested in that, and like halfway through it, I'm like, yeah, this particular person and her ways do not align with anything that I believe in. And it was just one of those awkward moments. I didn't ask for my money back. I was more embarrassed than anything. I'm like, it's not her fault, it's my fault. But then I learned more about target marketing and how that all worked. And there was another person that I invested in before I learned about some of the target marketing. Similar idea, like she had all the right things to say. I even went to a live event. That was one of the tickets. It included a live event, and I love live events. So I went to that, and it was at that live event that I was like, yeah, these people just aren't my people. And so I had invested the initial, I don't know, maybe that was another 2,500, but there she was selling like $10,000 package and all of that. And people were just signing up like it was nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't. And I remember somebody really trying to sell me. and guilt me because they're like, well, that must mean that you're not willing to invest in yourself, you know? And I was like, no, that is not it. This is just not the place that I want to invest. And I think it was probably 4 or 5 months after that that I actually found a coach that I did invest $10,000 in. And one of the ladies who I had met at that event said, well, I don't know who this person is, but they must be really incredible because you're not the type to just let go of $10,000. And I remember saying, well, if it's the right fit, I'm okay with it. But that wasn't the right fit. And so it was just a learning process for me, obviously an expensive one. But my return on investment was not just monetary and tangible. It was a lot more of those other things that you mentioned. It
Right.
was a recognition of not just having increased confidence, but a recognition of it's important to actually invest in people that you know, like, and trust. And I know we use
Yeah.
that phrase a lot, but when it's on the other end, usually I'm the person that's known, liked, and trusted if we're talking about somebody investing in me. But when it came to me investing in me, I really had to say, okay, it's okay to recognize that not everybody is your people. And
Yep.
so, as you guys are being intentional with this, I really do encourage you. If you have a connection with somebody, that's awesome. Like, even if it's somebody who you don't think has a huge business, but they can help you, that's even way more important than someone who has this gargantuan business and they just say all the right things, but you can't connect to them. Why invest in that? So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's extremely important that you invest into people that you feel you're aligned with.
Yeah,
You know, um,
for real.
remember how I told you I made one investment that didn't work out?
Is this the one that you just mentioned a few minutes ago that
Mhm.
you've gotten a ROI on everything except that one?
Yep. It was
I seem
it
to
was because of
remember
that.
something about it, but not the details.
Yeah, well, it was because of a similar situation, you
Okay.
know, along with a couple other things too, but generally speaking, it was because of that,
Mhm.
and that's really important, So, I mean, obviously, this whole conversation around investing into yourself, we're saying that it's important. I think that probably deep down, you know that it's important too, not just for you, but also your family and the people that you're serving as well. So, building off of this whole idea of know, like, and trust, right?
Mhm.
If you've been listening to this show for a while, maybe you're an every weeker, which hey, thanks if you are. I think that you probably have gotten to know us a little bit. Now, maybe you haven't talked to us directly, but you've gotten to know us. Hopefully, you like us. That'd be kind of cool.
But we
Uh,
understand if you don't.
yeah, yeah, and hopefully you trust us too. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw out like a shameless plug to kind
All
of
right.
wrap up this whole episode. But if you're a newer coach or you have like one or two clients or maybe you don't have any clients at all, we do have a program that's simply called like getting started as a financial coach. So if you're looking for someone or something to invest into so that you can get that return on investment for yourself, both with getting new clients, scaling your business, but also feeling confident, having those good communication skills, those good marketing skills, that might be a good option for you. So we'll leave a link in the description for like a free webinar so you can kind of check it out and learn a little bit more about it. And then if you feel called to make that investment into yourself and into your practice, go for it. It's not anything that's super crazy or, like a level of investment or anything like that. It's just enough for you to take it seriously. That's really what it is.
Mhm.
So we'll leave that in there and no pressure if you don't want to do it. But again, it's just an opportunity for you. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, along the lines of shameless plugs, I guess, the other thing we haven't really spoken about is, I mean, I mentioned the investment of time,
mhm,
but we haven't really spoken about the investment of time in community. And that is one of the
yeah,
things that I just wanted to share. So, our book club is relatively small, but we had a couple people show up. Yes, it was just a couple days ago. And we were in this discussion, and I asked, like, how many people here have read the book? Well, there was somebody who hadn't read the book, and this is her third time coming, having not read the book. And
mhm,
I did not press on this, but one of the other attendees said, hey, I have a question. I'm just kind of curious. What makes you keep coming if you haven't actually read the book and you're coming to this book club? And she said, I show up for the community. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys and I always get value. And I thought that is such a great testimony. It just shows that she is investing time and money into her business, and part of her ROI is the community. So I just wanted to share that as well, because we have different ways you can do that. I know we have Patreon where you can get just all sorts of really great nuggets from a myriad of coaches, which is great. But we also have the Facebook community, which is absolutely free. It's free of your money, but it's not free of your time. If you're going to get anything out of it, you're going to be investing some time. But networking with those individuals, ask questions, recognize that people have things to share. It's something that I just wanted to remind you that we have, and we encourage you to invest there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, guys.
Cool.
Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast. We will catch you guys next week. And until then, make an investment into yourself in some sort of way. You'll be happy that you did. So take care, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.